Squad. I'm here with my fingers.
Oh,
We talk about
That just sounds
underappreciated and
so bad.
overrated movies. And if you know what movie I'm talking about just from that very small tease, you're in for a real treat. So last week we covered a movie. We covered 28 years later. We know you guys are all returning fans. We covered 28 years later, and we told you like that movie wasn't really doesn't really fit our scheme. Like we cover underrated, overappreciated, or underappreciated movies.
yeah.
Overappreciated. We cover movies everyone likes and we talk
Yeah,
about them.
way too much.
We're every podcast. It's not us. The successful ones. Anyway, that's
Yeah,
too many
yeah.
jokes today. So we
It's
covered
late,
28
late
years
night.
later, and that was a success. But we said like there's a reason why we're gonna cover this movie, and so this is the reason. But yes, welcome back to the Bomb Squad, and today we're covering. It's barely January, and we might have already have our best film of the year because today we're covering Nina Costa's 28 Days Later, The Bone Temple, parts one of two, parts two of three.
Two, three. Yeah.
Part
So
two of
yes,
two and a half.
it's direct. It's directed by Nia Costa, who also did Candyman. She did something else.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
good.
I've only ever seen Candyman though.
Yeah, I've only. Oh, Hedda. She just did Hedda, which just came out. Oh, she did Little Woods, and she did The Marvels. Oh yeah, whoops. She
No.
did The Marvels.
Oh, did she do The
Which
Marvels?
is her biggest movie, but that one, I mean, everyone kind of chucks it up to studio. I like Brie Larson, so
No
sorry,
one can turn
fanboys.
down that Marvel money.
Yeah, I
it
would-
doesn't matter who
I would
you
do the
are.
Marvel movie in a second. I'd be like, yeah, my favorite character is Beta Ray Bill. Um, Alex Garland has returned to write the story. Danny Boyle could not return because he was busy filming 28 years later, right before this. And so this movie stars Jack O'Connell, Alfie Williams, Aaron Kellyman, Emma Laird. Sorry, Emma Laird. You have a great name. And of course, the
Oh.
GOAT, Ralph Fiennes, is back
Mhm.
as Dr. Ian Kelso. And also, so yes, so this is a continuation. It literally picks up right from the last one. The last one started. And oh, before I get into the plot, I'll just say yes, this is supposed to be two of three. And one of the reasons we're covering this movie is because we want you guys to go see it so that we can watch part three. Well, we'll talk about the
I mean,
end.
honestly, yeah, we'll see.
But yes,
what they're
I
gonna
mean,
do.
we want you to support these kind of movies, so that's also why we're doing this. So yeah, this is supposed to be two of three, and so we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about whether, like, either way, this movie is a complete movie. So don't think you have to like you're watching a middle part of a trilogy that doesn't end. It is a complete movie, and we'll get into it. But
Yeah.
now let's get started. So the movie starts, and we kind of pick up right after.
I would say it's like an hour later.
Yeah, it's
I
like
would-
immediately.
Yeah.
However
yeah.
long it took them to walk to a community pool.
Yeah.
that's how long.
And
Since
it's
the
and by
last
them
movie.
we of course mean Spike has returned. He's the protagonist from the last film who left their village to go seek out the world on his own. And he was immediately captured by zombies because Spike is the worst. And he was
Still
saved
just a
by
kid.
He's a
yeah,
nice
he's
kid.
13 years old. He's not
You're right.
supposed to. He's not a zombie hunter yet.
Yeah.
And he was immediately saved by a group of men dressed as Jimmy Savin, all calling themselves Jimmy. They're not all men. There are a group of men and women, and they're led by Sir Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Donnell, who is the oldest, and he's the main character, or he's the original character from the first one, who starts off. But he has saved them, and so in the last movie, and before we kind of get into it, I don't know. Do you guys know who Jimmy Savile is? Savile?
I know that he was
Cultural
someone who was like,
osmosis.
yeah, he was like a British like TV personality.
He was
worked
like
on
a
kids
chill-
shows, and then it came out
he
that
did-
he was
yeah.
like a major.
Yeah, he was. We're immediately gonna get demonetized. He was like this beloved character. He like hosted a radio show, and then he was just like, it was kind of like Mr. Rogers type of thing, and then he passed away, and then it was immediately like kind of exposed that not only was he an assaulter of children, which is how we're not gonna get demonetized this time, but he was also but like the BBC and a bunch of people knew about it, and they just kind of like let it happen. And so it was this
That
weird
sounds
thing where it's
familiar
like,
for some
yeah,
reason.
it would be like, it's not even
That's-
like Bill Cosby, where like, I mean, Bill Cosby's still alive, I'm
Right.
just gonna get sued by everyone in the world this time, every celebrity. But it was more like if we found out now that Mr. Rogers was a pervert, like how would that affect your brain? And so
Right.
that's who he was. Like I watched a documentary about him for you guys. That's what I do for our audience.
Nice.
And so like it's kind of a more a play on the Britishness, but we'll talk about what it means later on.
But
that's
I
what they're
also
all
feel
dressed
like
as. Yeah.
there's kind of an interesting thing where it's like, on one hand, it is a commentary on like, oh, if especially if you're British, you know what this like person represents as this like kind of false evil childhood. But in the context of the film, because 28 like years later happened, none of that would have come out. So it's
Right.
literally
Right,
just like
right.
a coincidence. Like it's like a funny irony. You know?
See, but here's the thing. That's why Alec Garland is like the greatest writer of all time, because it works as both things.
Would
It's
agree.
not
yeah.
only
Right.
a great tip
Except
off
for
to the
warfare.
fact that in the world of 28 Days Later, they never found this out about Jimmy Savile, so they're just dressing up as like their childhood hero.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it does also play into the fact that it was like this thing. It's like a meta commentary on like following a dangerous person who is like pretending to protect you.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
leading
And
a
it
secret
feeds-
life. Yeah.
Yeah, and it feeds into the themes, and we'll talk about them as they get along. But it's also like, you know, I mean, this movie is about so much about stunted growth and kind of masculinity and stuff. So we'll continue. It'll come out more as it gets along. But they're
Right.
all there, Jimmy Crystal, and so like the last time we saw them, they saved Spike, and they're like, "You should come with us."
He
Yes,
said,
you're-
"Let's be pals." That's the last line.
Right.
Of the movie.
And you don't really
Yeah.
know if they're going to be cool or if they're going to be awful.
Yeah.
Now
At the
they-
end of
Which-
the first movie.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's kind of funny because I think if you're in Britain, you kind of get the sense that they're supposed to be evil because you know Jimmy Savile.
right.
But in America, it's
And
kind
they're
of it's more
champs.
yeah. And so then this time, like, but right out the gate, we find out that yes, they are evil
yeah.
because the plan is that Spike to join the group has to kill one of the other Jimmys, and so
Mhm.
they have to fight, and he's kind of like they're picking him, and Jimmy Crystal is also like talking to who he calls Old Nick, and Old Nick is of course Satan, and so they are Satanists, and he's like asking Satan if they should fight, and Satan says yes.
Yeah,
'cause
he like
the-
Cool,
it's
yeah.
like he does like a trance kind of thing.
yeah, he
But
does
it's-
this all the time.
Something that's
and-
kind of interesting about like this opening too, though, is like at the end of the first one, like we just said, you don't really know if these Jimmys are evil or good, and so like going into the beginning of this movie where you find out they're very evil, I felt like my journey was the same as Spike's in a way, where it's like,
You're like, "Oh, I'm safe." Oh, no,
yeah,
I'm not.
and then you're kind
Yeah.
of like you're like, are they serious? Like, are they for real?
Yeah.
And I feel like that really they did a good job of, like putting you in that moment of like
Yeah.
feeling that unsafeness
Yeah.
versus like
Because
uh,
yeah, because even though we have essentially like it's been an hour from when you watch these back to back, and it's like just the next scene, but we're thrown immediately into a dangerous situation, just like Spike is. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great observation. So
It's,
Spike eventually he does get the upper hand out of one of them.
Well,
and
it's pure luck. It literally.
No, it's not.
I feel it seemed like he knew what he was doing. Yeah.
I don't think he knew he was going to get an artery. I don't know.
I mean,
like
they
really?
kill
Spike.
animals all the time.
That's
That
what I
is
thought
true.
too.
His-
'cause he
and
was
also
trained.
his dad was like teaching him where to shoot the monsters. Remember,
But-
he's
but
like,
also-
make sure you hit him in the head. I guess
Right.
that's not really
If
like
the guy hadn't been messing,
that's not
with
really a
him,
good lesson. Everyone knows
Yeah.
that one.
If the guy hadn't been messing with him, he
Yeah.
would have. Like, so it really is just kind of like, oh, they really like underestimated.
I mean, that's true. If the guy would have
Yeah.
been like really attacking him, he could have
Yeah,
probably pulled it off. That's true.
right. And
But
they
the
even-
aim, I thought the aim
But-
was true.
But
The
what
aim
is
was true.
cool, and I do kind of like, there's aspects of Jimmy's gang or cult group, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
the Jimmies, that they never outright say it, but if you're watching from the first one, there can only be 7 Jimmies. That's why anytime someone wants to join, they have to fight a current Jimmy.
right.
And it's because right before the zombie apocalypse, he was sitting there with his 7 sisters watching the Teletubbies.
Right.
You know, so it's like,
And he,
it- but he never literally says that. You just kind of have to glean it from, you know,
Right.
watching the movie. You know,
yeah. You just have to know that there's 7.
I,
and it's
I
also
guess it's
the
like
thing,
I'm so used to the Netflix exposition style. Like, we'll spell everything out. Don't worry if you're on your phone. Where it's like, no, this is like a real movie. It's like,
Yeah.
Well, a clue that there has to be more to the fact that he calls them that there's 7 of them. It's because he calls them his hand. They're the fingers.
Mhm.
And so he calls them Jimmy's hand or his fingers. And but a finger is 5 or 10.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make sense that they'd only have 7
That there'd be
fingers. And it's
7, yeah.
because that's kind of like Alec Garland being like, he wants you to think about why are they called the fingers if there's 7 of them. And I think that's
Right.
how people figured out that it was the sisters. Because I didn't figure it out until someone told me. But I was
Yeah,
like,
I
yes,
just
I
figured
do
it out right
understand
now.
now.
Yeah.
Yes, I do know now. I am
Yes.
smart. We all understood that.
Yes.
And so then they like kind of go off and they're fighting. And one thing that they keep reiterating is that Jimmies know how to kill anything that kind of comes near them. They kind of like take turns and they have fun. And then
that is one of
So
those
good.
things of I don't because in the last one they're doing sweet parkour and they do a little bit in this, and the few times they do it, it's so cool. But I was like, oh, I kind of wish they had more
they were
zombies to
constantly-
parkour. Like,
yeah.
but because as they're leaving the pool, they just like effortlessly own the zombie on the way out. I was
Yeah.
like, yay,
Yeah.
more of this,
Yeah.
please. But it only happens
Every
a
time-
couple times.
Every time they go against a zombie, it's like they throw their bag in the air and then they kill them real fast and they catch their bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is like
Oh.
it's like, oh, if you want to survive, you just have to be this like naturally good at killing, and that is like
Yeah.
a cool aspect. It just doesn't, they don't do it front and center as much as you would think.
Yeah. And also now that we've gotten a closer look at the fingers, they all have like a cross carved into their head, like into their
Right.
forehead, kind of like
The
Charles
inverted.
Manson. The inverted cross, and they all have scars all over their body. What you don't know is this from fighting? Is this from Jimmy? Is this from each other? Because
Right.
there's like
Just
a part
survival.
later where they're like practicing, but they're just using their knives, and it's like,
Yeah.
they don't really care that much.
Right.
So, but before we get to that, we check in with our favorite character, Dr. Kelso, and
Mhm.
also we catch up with the mom, the zombie mom, as Dr. Kelso takes her to get burned at the stake and then put on the bone temple.
Right. Right.
Oh yeah, and then that's when because it's
'Cause that's when he's-
Samson's
Samson's
mate.
girl.
Samson
Yeah.
arrives.
yeah.
And
Um,
he's walking with him, and Samson comes.
yeah.
But what you realize is because even in the last movie, to stop Samson, he kept having to hit him with the morphine dart. But in this one, Samson actually waits for the morphine dart, and then Kelson realizes like, oh, he's actually like kind of asking me to dose him because it feels
Yeah.
really good. You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's like, this is like a transaction, so it's like there
Yeah.
is some sort of mental activity.
Yeah, because he's about to shoot Samson with the blow dart, and then he notices that Samson like stops charging him. And if we've seen the last movie, Samson doesn't really ever stop charging anyone ever.
Right.
And so that's when Kelso kind of like he makes a conscious decision to try, and it's kind of funny because Kelso's like, if I die, like
Whatever.
You're like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I've come to terms with it, and so he kind of shows them that like, I'll give you the dart, but I have to do it. Like you can't kill me.
Right.
And
right.
so Samson is like, okay, I'm down. Just like all cool guys, he's willing to do whatever drugs.
He just wants to get stoned and hang out.
It's
Yeah,
about
dude, why
how
not?
peer pressure is good and drugs
Yeah,
are
dude.
cool.
Especially if it's the guy covered in iodine. Like, always take drugs from the guy covered in iodine.
Yeah.
But
And
this
so
is
then,
almost like
Oh, go ahead.
yeah,
Great scene.
they're just like sitting on the log, kind of vibing, and that's honestly a lot of Ian Kelson's thing, and it's like amazing. It's like
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
well, it's also like my favorite part is they're sitting on the log and they're kind of watching him, and like Kelso's like kind of realizing that this helps him, like feel like maybe not even feel, but it calms him down. So Samson likes it, and then Kelso's like, "All right, man." And he pulls out a dart and he kind of licks the tips.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
then
He gets
also
high, too.
Passes out.
Dude, and I love his little speech about like it's not a crime to want to chill. It's not
Yeah.
a crime to want to feel good. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no one's, dude, all good.
Well,
Just
and
go for it.
the
Go
cool
for
thing
it, brother.
too is because if like first he's like whatever, and he just like he takes the same morphine, but he wakes up and Samson's gone, so it's like
Yeah.
oh, Samson
It's totally
didn't
fine.
mutilate
Yeah.
my body as I slept.
Yeah,
So
Right.
this-
which is actually
this-
like it's a smart move because
that is hugely meaningful. Yeah,
Yeah, because Kelso didn't know how Samson was gonna react, so it's actually like, you know what? If he's gonna rip me apart, I'd rather
Might as well be-
completely
Yeah, zonked.
And then we also see Kelso's house at this point where he puts on music. He has a good selection of British
Yeah.
music and no American music.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
all like 80s, kind of like
Yeah,
kind of alt rock, metal
yeah.
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's all cool
There's-
music.
there's
It's
a
good
little bit
stuff.
of other. They go a little bit older than the '80s, near the end, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
that
yeah.
is that is one of the things where, because the first one has this like amazing score, but the second one has like a lot of just banger songs. Kind of, it's
Yeah.
almost like
Well, yeah,
a lot's inverted almost in this
And-
movie.
and it's cool because they're like, so he realizes this, and then so he kind of goes to bed. You see more of his house, and then we cut back to the fingers, and the fingers have. Oh well, no, we don't cut back to the finger. We cut back to okay. This is so
Some
funny.
hunters.
There's some hunters, and the first one has like a full set of. Oh no, this is earlier. This is where we introduce the Samson. I just want to talk about it for a second.
Of course.
There's a hunter, and he has like a full head of hair, and it starts off with him, and you see him from the back, and he has a bow and arrow, and then Samson comes and just murders him in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
They hired that guy specifically so they could pretend that was gonna be Aaron Paul Taylor, or whatever, the dad from the first one, because he has a bow and he has the exact same.
I could
hair.
see it.
Oh,
And in
I could
the
see
yeah.
it.
trailer, I remember being like, "Oh, the dad's gonna be in this one," because there he
Right.
is. And then watching this a second time, I was like, "Oh, you
Huh.
cheats!" You
Yeah,
cheats."
yeah.
This is
Um,
also, and this is why I think people were weirdly. This is like a big criticism of the movie that I don't agree with. It's probably like the one time of zombie action you see in the movie because it's Samson effortlessly like parting his head from his shoulders. Not a lot of zombies going on.
No, but we do. So we cut back to after Kelso's drug trip, and we get to this new group, and they're in the woods, and we see a really cool like with the zombies walking. He doesn't have a foot. He's like walking on his stump, but his foot's still connected.
Yeah.
It's just like not working anymore.
Pretty gross.
And
Yeah.
and there's a pregnant woman, a young kid who is assumed to be the dad. I think is
I
that's the
would assume.
implication.
Yeah. I think they're partners.
And there's
And
like
an old
a,
guy.
and there's a red shirt, and the red shirt is like, I'm gonna go, I'm
The
gonna
guy's
murder
like-
this zombie.
He's like, I'm just one day from zombie retirement.
Yeah.
Right. Come on.
he's like, tomorrow I'm gonna go on the cruise with my wife.
Yeah.
And
Getting
so
off this
he
rock.
he does what red shirts do. He gets immediately murdered, and also like he goes and kills a zombie, and he's so bad at it. It's like, why did you even try to do this? You know, like you don't.
Right.
You're not good at this at all.
I don't remember. Did the zombies like see him, or like why did he even try?
No, they were kind of close, and he was saying that if they did see him and scream, it was gonna attract a bunch
Bring
of other
Like a
everyone, yeah.
horde, essentially.
But then he stabs him right here. It's like, well, now he can scream you.
Yeah.
That is it is kind of interesting too because the couple's running and they have to run to this like kind of steel gate they've erected, and
Yeah.
it's like you realize like, oh, their village is right next to this gate, so it's like zombies can't climb, so it is
Mhm.
pretty safe to just kind of
Yeah.
have a little village right there.
And-
You would think, you know.
Right. And they do leave the guy who freaked out in the woods, and so it's
Yeah.
kind of similar to the other village from the first movie as
Yeah,
well.
it's like,
it's
if, you're,
kind of like,
if you're down, you're
if
down.
you mess up, you're
Yeah.
done. You can't mess up.
Yeah. And so they open the gate. They go to the door, or they go to the barn, and the kind of elder comes out. And he's like, "We have guests."
Yeah.
the
Cool
British accents
guys.
are not stopping. And
Yeah.
so who is there? It's Jimmy's.
It's the
It's all the
Jimmys.
Jimmys.
Oh, the
And
Jimmys.
so they invite the people in, and Jimmy kind of gives this speech about. It's also funny because he's talking. He's like, "We're travelers wandering these," and then she goes, or he says, "Oh, and we were let in by this group," and the pregnant girl goes, "You weren't let in," and then Jimmy's like, "You broke my flow."
Yeah. Yeah.
is very
That's like his cool thing. It's like he's very cool and very charismatic, but then he does have that like
He,
he will kill you.
He has
at
like
Yeah.
a
any
prepared
second.
He kind of-
speech, if
he-
you like, yeah.
Yeah,
Interrupt
he
it.
talks about everything in the same kind of like "Let It Be" vibes to
Mhm.
for other British for the British guys. Not
Hey,
your-
there we
we're on
go.
the same page, guys.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, so then they start talking, and he like kind of tells them,
He does. He is recounting an episode of the Teletubbies. When
Oh, yeah, he
Oh yeah, the Teletubbies are huge in this movie.
because
Yeah.
there's two girl Jimmies. There's kind of the one we follow, and then there's the second
"There's a
crazy
cool
one.
one." Yeah,
And she is enacting one of the Teletubbies dances.
and
So-
you can tell that she is one of the oldest ones because all of them are just named Jimmy, but she's named Jimmy M.
Yeah.
And so you get the impression that she's been there for a while, and also she has like she just is like the best fighter. She has like a angel wings and
Yeah.
a little because Jimmy also wears a crown because again he's always talking to he did say that old Nick is his dad, so he's the son of the devil, so that's why
Yeah.
he has a little crown, which comes back in a very funny way. And so yeah, they're dancing, and then like again, in the same kind of attitude that he's like telling them about the Teletubbies and how interesting that show was. He's like, "Oh, of course we have to kill you now, right?" And then like they try to fight him, and the Jimmies kind of quickly subdue him. The pregnant girl's the
Yeah.
only one who gets away. And well, she gets away. They can't find her.
She
and-
she hides
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
loft of the barn,
yeah,
but
we don't know that yet.
they
Right,
take
yeah,
everyone else.
She just bails. Yeah.
Yeah, she's gone, and they take everyone to the barn for what do they call it? Charity.
Well, no, because then she takes off, and Jimmy says to the other girl, he says, "You gotta go catch her," and she's like, "And then Miss Charity," and he's like, "Yeah, go catch her."
Mhm.
So she takes off, and then what she does is she goes and finds Dr. Kelso, and he's dead.
Oh, that's
music.
right. Yeah.
Right,
Music
right,
with
right, right,
Samson,
right.
and Samson's completely naked again, and they're just like dancing together, and then Dr. Kelso's like taking off his shirt and kind of dancing with him.
Right.
And I was like, this movie is the best movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, Dr. Kelso and Samson get pretty close.
This
like,
is funny
yeah.
too,
they're-
'cause
it's like it's pretty
if
funny.
if you grew up in this world and you saw an orange man dancing with the zombies
Yeah.
In a
to
bone
music
temple.
you've probably never heard in your life,
Right.
you'd be like, oh yeah, that's the
Sin.
devil.
That's
Okay.
Satan.
Well, and see,
It's
that's
Nick.
the thing too, is that not only that, but like it's not even zombies in the like the rage monsters are just always angry if they are even close
Right, and
to
it's,
a
it's,
human.
it's an alpha, right?
And it's an alpha, which is the
Yeah.
worst of the worst. And like he's literally dancing and swaying with Dr. Kelso.
Yeah.
So the girl sees him and she's like, "Well, that's the devil." And so she
Mhm.
takes off running. And then we cut back to the house, and then that's where we learn
That's
what Charity is.
Yes, they're all trussed up in the barn like this.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're trussed up.
Trust.
They're
And you have to like
trussed
do
up.
them a favor.
They're
or
they're
something.
Liz trussed up.
Yeah.
That's a reference for our British listeners.
Hey guys,
Pork
Margaret-
features.
Margaret Thatcher.
Hey.
Yeah,
That's a
There's
different-
no British. Like, do you guys even realize we're Americans?
That's a
Yeah,
different
come on.
prime minister.
We know a few
That's
things.
not-
Yeah, Keener Starmer or something. Okay, so that's where we find out. So charity is where if you give charity of your shirt, they take off the skin, the flesh.
They
on
flay
your
they
chest.
flay your flesh.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
flay
Yeah.
your body whatever part they're taking. Like, so pants, obviously, shirt, obviously. I don't know. I guess they could also do a helmet,
Hat,
or
maybe?
something, hat.
It is funny because in the first
Necktie.
movie, briefly, they when Spike is still with his dad, they find a guy trussed up upside down,
Yeah,
and they're like,
Yeah.
"Who would do this?" And you're like, "Oh, I do wonder what the act of charity was that made the Jimmies like leave the guy here because he's not dead. He's clearly been like infected, but like
yeah.
you know,
And
what
maybe
was-
that's why, because he's infected, and they don't want to like.
No, I
Yeah.
assume they trusted him up when he wasn't infected,
Yeah.
so like they
Maybe he
would
was
get
already
him, but-
bit. Although it does
Yeah.
take like 10 seconds. So that's
Right.
so then they do that, but they leave the young dad alive, and the dad is like, oh, and Jimmy goes up to him. He's like, okay, we want you to join the team, but of course you have to take out one of the Jimmies.
Oh no, but Spike cannot handle this.
Oh, yeah,
and has
Spike has
left.
run
Right.
off.
Spike has bailed. Spike is
He
not. He
got
does not want
sick
to be a
and-
part of it. We kind of forgot to mention that. Yeah. So Spike is
Spike
now in
is
the Jimmys,
not
and he is
an
not
active
about it. He's a
participant.
young
Yeah.
kid who's scared.
And
He
like
just
the
wants to
whole
leave.
time, like when they,
He doesn't do almost anything.
yeah,
the whole
before
movie
they were
except
even
be
watching,
horrified. Yeah,
he was crying, and so they kind of left him outside, and they made him come back inside, and then he immediately goes back outside because it's a very
Right.
horrible thing.
and that's
Um,
where
and Jimmy's
the
pissed off
other
about it.
the other
Yeah.
girl Jimmy finds him outside. And is kind of comforting him, so you kind of get like, oh, she's a little softer than the other
Yeah.
Jimmys. She's a
Because
little
she
bit
tells
more.
She's a
him,
little bit
like-
more realistic.
She stays outside with him,
Yeah.
so it's just the five
And
other Jimmys inside.
And at first, she's like, "No, you have to go back. This is what we do, and you have to get used to it." But Spike is so freaked out that she's like, "We can stay out here for a little bit."
Yeah.
And so they're staying out there. So now there's only 5 fingers in the house. And we cut back to the house where she tells, Jimmy tells the guy, the dad, like, "Okay, you have to pick one of these Jimmys to fight." And the little girl with angel wings is like, has her head down and she's crying. So he picks her, and then she like immediately looks up and starts smiling.
yeah.
And it was clearly a trick that he did not
Mhm.
understand. And so they start fighting, and it's also funny because like he tries to stab her or something, and then she like grabs him by the arm and stabs him and like pulls it back. It's like so painful.
It's
Yeah.
sad.
It's
she
crazy how she
she
does it, yeah.
brutalizes him.
Mhm.
But they're like one of the Jimmys like says out loud, he's like, he almost got you. And she's like, shut up, you cunt.
Yeah, yeah,
Because she's like, no, he never had me. This was all a game.
yeah. This is a ruse.
And she even tells him, like, oh, you thought that you picked me because I was crying. And that's why I wanted you to pick me. And then she cuts him so bad he can't even get up anymore. So
Yeah.
then Jimmy says, oh, and then we find out that the pregnant woman is hiding upstairs. Good thing none
Mhm.
of our crew spoiled that before now.
Yeah, she was watching the torture in earlier scenes.
Yeah, I think she's been out
No,
there
I
for a
think
minute.
it's not
yeah.
that big of a spoiler.
It's
And also
pretty...
this whole review spoiler.
Yeah, from sentence one.
And so
Can I also
she-
say how
Oh, go
funny
ahead.
it is to cut, because it kind of cuts between this and like literally just like Samson getting high in the woods with like Dr. Ian Kelson.
Yeah,
And it's so funny because if you just saw the last movie before watching this, you'd think like, oh, the doctor's going to be the sad part and the Jimmys are going to be the funny part because
Mhm.
the one Jimmy scene is so crazy. But instead, it's like a hard shift where it's like, no, the Jimmy part is bleakly like savage and like horrible, and the
Right.
doctor part's just like fun, like light time. So it's like
Hello.
it
Yeah.
almost like is funny how quickly it like totally reverses your expectations. You know?
Yeah,
right.
the Jimmy part definitely wasn't super cool and hilarious. So they're fighting, but then we cut Dr. Calso, and he kind of tells Samson that he's running out of morphine, and that's like the main ingredient in the drug. And so he's like, I have another way to make you rest, Samson. And then he like pulls out a needle, and it's like, also, Dr. Kelso, you don't have to kill everyone you meet, bro. Like, you can take a
Yeah.
few days. Because he goes,
Yeah.
oh, I only have enough for 2 weeks. And then he's like, he's gonna kill him that night. And it's like, okay, you can even give him 1 more week, man. I guess he does need it
I
for
need it.
protection.
Yeah. It's kind of
and
his
so
only
he's-
line of defense.
Yeah, so he's about to kill Samson, and Samson is looking at the moon, and he says the word moon, and so
Right,
Kelso like takes it out.
Because he's been kind of researching doing his own research on the zombies,
Yeah,
as
And
much
he-
as you can do, really.
and
yeah.
he's thought that maybe there's a scene where Kelso is talking to Samson or talking to himself at Samson, and he's like, "What do you see when you see me? Like, you
Yeah.
obviously don't see a human who's just hanging out. You see
Yeah.
something that wants to attack you." And they do some shots where they kind of show what zombie vision could be, and they show
Yeah.
everything looking threatening. And so Kelso has thought that maybe this morphine has allowed the psychosis of the rage virus to be lifted.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it seems like it's not going to work until this moment.
Right. Yeah, and so
Right.
then when he says moon, he's like, oh, okay, this might work.
Yeah.
And so he kind of smiles, and then we cut back.
We cut back to
eight
the
people
horrible
being
torture.
slain.
Right.
And
Because
she
you
doesn't
don't need a
think
rage
about-
virus to have a psychosis. I mean, let's be
Yeah.
real.
And she's like, about to kill him, and she's telling him that she's gonna do charity on take his pants. And
Do
she's
charity
kind of
to pay,
telling
yeah,
him that
she's
she loves
literally
to
gonna
kill.
deglove his.
And then she
entire
gets hit in the
crotch.
head, and she starts like talking about her cat. She's like, I just want to see my cat. Where did he go? Why is everyone running? And you kind of realize that she's like remembering the last thing before
old
this
life.
whole world.
Totally.
Right.
I actually missed
Um,
that line. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's very sad and scary, and also she's
Yeah.
the best Jimmy, so it's even worse. It's more depressing.
Right.
She was the coolest one.
I know.
And so then the guy takes this opportunity to grab like a propane tank and make like a flamethrower, and he sets another Jimmy on fire.
Yeah, it's because
Yeah, this guy rocks.
the woman threw a hook down from the loft, so it's
Yeah.
literally a hook
Right,
going
right.
through the back of her skull.
Yeah,
So it's literally her last moments of coherence before
Yeah.
she dies.
Yeah.
And then,
and
then that guy savagely, because he knows he's gonna die. He
yeah,
has
he's
no
already
illusions.
dead, really. Yeah.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm just gonna burn a couple of you fuckers on the way out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he sets a
So-
couple of them on fire. Sets the whole thing on fire, and so the Jimmys are trying to like chase the girl, but they also can't breathe. And also, there's a very funny scene where Spike and the girl are like, "Yeah, they're screaming a lot." You're like, "Well, I guess,
Yeah.
of course they are."
That happens all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And she's like, "It's a weird screaming," and she's like, "Look at me overthinking," and then someone pops out of fire.
Yeah.
I know, it's such a
Like,
laugh line.
It's funny because you know it's coming, but it's like, when is Alec Garland gonna pull the trigger on this?
Right.
And this is such a bad lie, and I know Spike is a child because Jimmy's like, go get her, kill her, or bring
Yeah,
bring
no,
her back.
bring her alive because he wants the
And-
baby.
And Spike is coming,
Right.
and she gets to the gate, and she's like fiddling with it. And he has the arrow, but then he lowers it, and he's just like crying, and he's like, "Please take me with you."
Yeah,
And
so
she like
Spike.
softens and like kind of comes like she's gonna hug him, and then she just like decks him and knocks him to the
Yeah,
ground and then
right.
runs. Which is again the right
Right.
move.
Yeah.
Because he could be lying. He could be trying to trick her.
They-
You know.
but then he's like, instead of being like, oh, she got away, or whatever, my arrow missed or whatever, he's like, oh, I killed her, but it was dark, so I don't know where. And it's like, that's
I
a
know.
horrible lie,
Right.
Spike.
Well,
Come
and
on,
then-
Spike.
It's funny because Jimmy's like, you couldn't even bring me her face. Because like I think it's implied that they like to take the
Evidence.
faces. But
Mm.
I did think about this, and I wonder if he had said she got away, because she had already gotten away from him before.
Oh,
If she said that she got away, would Jimmy have killed him?
Yeah.
And so I don't think he would have, because he doesn't have enough fingers anymore, because he only has 5.
well,
but
he's
Who knows
still
if Ji- if
he's
Spike
still
knew that?
about to. He's
Yeah.
still about to do something bad to Spike until the other girl Jimmy's like, no, wait, we should ask old Nick in person. And
Yeah.
Jimmy's like, what are
Right,
you talking
right.
about? That's not a
Yeah.
real
And also
thing.
they cut to them like looking at Dr. Kelso, and we didn't talk about this last time, but they all like have their binoculars, but they do it like this. They only look out of one eye instead of out of two
Oh
eyes.
yeah.
And
Oh,
I was like, why the hell do they keep doing that? And then also at one point, one of the other Jimmys looks at it the opposite way. And I was like, oh, I don't think they know how binoculars are supposed to work.
Right. Right. They just found these
They're
things.
just
Yeah.
dummies.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just a funny little aside that they're like, and it's also funny because Jimmy's like looking and they're like, so is it old Nick? And he's like, is it old Nick?
Yeah. I think so.
Which is
Yeah.
this is
Pretty
like
sure.
amazing too, because this is the scene where because you kind of assume that Jimmy is like most cult leaders, just a liar. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm just like a liar who likes power and killing people. And this is the scene where you realize, oh, he literally does think he's the son of the devil
Yeah.
and has no idea what's happening right now. And he
Right,
like
right.
doesn't want to
Yeah.
show it. He wants to keep up the pretense, but he is like truly like, oh
He
no,
is
I am the son of Satan.
flabbergasted.
My dad
What
might
am I
be
gonna do?
down there.
Yeah.
you
Because
know?
like, yeah, it's the kind of thing where it's like, imagine it's kind of like an Avatar where like, imagine you didn't believe in God and then God set all the creatures to fight you. You'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like, come
In
on,
this
man.
one, It's kind of like, imagine if you thought you were the son of the devil, and then again, you show up on this hill and you look through your binoculars wrong, and you see a guy completely like in red skin, who's like
in a
like,
bone temple.
in a
We should
bone
we
temple.
we've really not mentioned the fact that a
Setting-
bone temple would be horrible to see.
yeah,
Yeah.
and dancing with monsters, you'd be like, I guess that is him.
This is
Like,
the guy
what
who made
hell?
these guys happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he tells him like, "Oh, I'm
Son
gonna
of
go
the
talk
devil.
to him," and he goes, "You don't want to pop up on old Nick." So he's like, "You guys got to stay here. We're gonna go talk to him." And so he leaves, and then we also find out that some of the Jimmys are pretty mad at Spike, also because he's the most useless Jimmy.
He,
I mean,
he is not.
honestly, if I was a Jimmy, I would hate Spike.
Yeah,
For sure.
he's like the guy
Yeah,
who has
no
the
offense.
job but doesn't do the work.
Yeah,
This is actually
he gets out of it. He gets out of work.
Yeah.
I understand the
Crying.
sequence of events, and I understand they film these movies back to back, but I almost wish you got to see the benefit of being in the Jimmies, But I almost feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
Spike's not with them long enough before this to like ever be like, oh, we just like we eat whatever we want. We're safe from zombies all the time. He really
But
spends the whole thing having the worst time.
I think,
Yeah.
but I think that's kind of the point, is that there is no benefit to being a Jimmy.
I
Because,
think
like,
It
it's
just
just
seems so stressful. It seems more
constant-
stressful than
yeah,
just being on
it's-
your own.
no,
It's
to me though, it's
constantly
like
murder and death.
Yeah.
if you're literally so good at killing that like the zombie part of zombies isn't really an issue for you, and like, you could spend your time like that is a benefit. It's an evil benefit, but it is good
Yeah, but
to be.
the-
this
It's the
person.
opposite benefit of like how Kelso does it. Like that's what we were talking about last week. Like how Kelso is like he has totally
He has embraced death.
He's
Yes.
embraced death. He's embraced this new life, and so have the Jimmies. They just instead of peace, they've chosen
Well,
all
Chaos.
out chaos.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
very
true.
that's a very good analysis, because they are so different, but they're on this. They're like, to me, the Jimmies and Dr. Kelso are the only people who are living in the world that they are in. Like
Right.
everyone
That's
else
true.
is trying
Yeah.
to hold on
I-
to this kind of old world, but the Jimmies are like, they're like, no, yeah, we're gonna kill everyone. We're in hell, and so that's
Right.
what we're doing.
You've
And
already died.
Dr.
But,
Kelso
like-
is like, let me help you. Let's live in this world and kind of treat death as it needs to be, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like if you are a Jimmy and you're not Spike, you're having a pretty good time, at least when you're doing parkour to like do tricks on zombies. And
Sure.
obviously Spike doesn't necessarily get that, but I almost feel like there's
Yeah.
not enough
It's-
of that in this movie to
It's
like
not
give
so
you like
much
here's
the
why it
zombie
would be
killing that makes being a
Mhm.
Jimmy bad. It's the everything else.
the torturing
Right.
everyone to death.
Because
Sure.
like those, that's why I think those scars are heavily implied to be coming from Jimmy or each other.
I
'Cause
do
Like,
even
'cause
when
how would
they're
they
like-
train to fight like
Yeah,
that? Like
exactly.
that kind of
Because
thing.
that's it's a thing where Josh doesn't like. You gotta put the context though, because like
I don't
yeah, they
know.
know how to
Seems pretty
kill-
cool. Seems
they know
pretty
how to
cool for
kill
a
the
while.
monsters. But the question is, how did they learn how to kill that well? And it
Right.
wasn't through, it wasn't through training and like montages. It was through murders.
No, sure. And I
Jimmy.
kind of, to me, I
Probably,
kind of
yeah.
get it's like when you hear like accounts of child soldiers in like
Yeah.
third world countries, where it's like, oh, their life wasn't good, but it
Yeah.
was the best option to them at the time, as far as they like could process as children. You know, and it's almost
Yeah.
like you almost get that. Whereas in this one, it's
You s-
like
You
it's
see how
never good for anyone. You know,
when you read about child soldiers, you're never like, wow, I wish we had
That
spent
rocks.
more time when they were having good times. There's a reason. So like you reached a conclusion, but you didn't like connect. You're like, yeah,
Yeah, I don't
like
know.
child soldiers.
Look,
Oh,
maybe I
and
just
they're also held there both by the threat of death. Like a child
Yeah.
soldier can't just
that,
leave.
that
and
is
Jimmy
also
can't
true.
just
No,
leave.
it's
Yeah.
a very similar situation, but I also think maybe I just wanted more sick parkour zombie kills. Just
I know.
you know,
I mean, who doesn't?
pepper
I
it
could
a
watch The
little
Last
bit,
Scene of 28
you know?
years later 100
Yeah.
times and it would not get old. That metal song
Now,
that comes on.
imagine
everything about
the
it rocks.
Jimmies got to deal with that nonsense that happens in 28 Weeks Later. That's an amazing scene. You know, that's
Yeah.
much better than the soldiers screaming and crying.
Yeah, well,
You know,
maybe they'll make a Rogue One 28 days later for you, Josh.
yeah.
The fan service movie for Jeffrey. So Jimmy, we're already talking about conclusions. Sorry guys,
I
again,
know,
like
I know.
the Bone Temple.
We're
we,
so
we,
far
we,
off.
we hit some themes early.
I
yeah.
almost want to get just because this is the best scene of the movie, and the movie changes very differently after this scene because it's so good.
Yeah. So and this is like my favorite part because Jimmy comes down and he sees Dr. Kelso, and Jimmy asks him like, "Are you old Nick?" And then Kelso's like, "Do you mean Satan?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "No, I'm not Satan. I don't even believe in Satan." He's like, "Oh man, I thought you were my dad." He was like, "That's crazy."
Yeah, he's like, wait, so what is all this? Because he's like, oh, I like treat the infection. He's like, why are you orange? He's like, oh, it's iodine to stop the infection. He's like, you're an atheist doctor.
Yeah.
he's like, and you're a
You're
proud
Satanist.
Satanist. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too because like again, it's such an opposite because
Right.
Kelso doesn't even have a shirt on. He's dipped in iodine, and Jimmy's like in a tracksuit that they all wear. But it's also like Jimmy this whole time literally thinks that because again, Jimmy was a tiny little baby when all this happened,
Right.
and so he
yeah.
thinks that they're literally demons from hell that his dad has brought to punish humanity. And the reason that he thinks they're still alive is because he's fulfilling that mission by also giving charity to his dad. And Kelso is like the most science anyone can be in a world without any science. Like
Right. He's like science
Yeah.
and philosophy.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
Did we talk
so-
about who Jimmy's dad is? Did we?
yeah.
Well, it's from
we
from
can
the.
talk
Oh,
about
okay,
it now because
okay.
I think we talked about it in the first episode.
He does
Right, I
bring it
think
up
we
in
did
this
too.
scene because he's like, the last time I saw my dad, he was literally leading a congregation of the dead.
And
you
let me
know?
ask you a question. When Jimmy said that, does he mean that his dad was the first alpha? Because I think that's what they're implying.
No, I think you just literally see the zombies like infected because his dad hands him the
Well,
cross.
Yeah, but you see the zombies infect them, but you don't see him leading the zombies.
Well, you
But
just
the
kind of see him like
alphas-
start to walk
Yeah.
with them. So I
Oh,
almost
yeah.
feel like to him it's like, oh, and his dad was super happy because his dad had clearly snapped mentally from
Yeah.
the zombie outbreak.
This thing
So-
happening. Yeah.
So it's very like, okay, literally, his dad's like, "This is great, things are happening," and then he's like marching with his. That's
Yeah.
what I took. I don't think he ever saw his dad again.
No, I think it was the first
No.
alpha.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't really.
I
think that
never thought about that,
matters.
but it could be.
Yeah.
Now
We
we
don't
need
know
to
how
see
an alpha
the Rogue
forms.
One.
Thank you,
that
William, for
he's-
yes anding me instead of
He's-
fucking shutting it down.
No, but
He's
Um,
the zombie that
yeah.
Spike and his dad killed in the
No,
first.
I don't know if
movie.
you want to go on another rant about child soldiers and their awesome land. Um,
They're cool
The good
lives
times
that we
we
all want to
had.
be.
the golden years.
but the alpha as the priest is a step too far. So
Watching
then,
Teletubbies to the
well, and then
screams
they're
of,
talking and they're kind of
victims.
getting, and like Jimmy kind of gives him the dilemma where he says, "Okay, here's the problem that we have. They think you're the devil, and I need them to continue to believe that not only are you the devil, but that I'm your son. And so if you and there's a really good scene because like I think this is the first time that Jimmy sat down with someone and actually had a real conversation because he asked them."
Not just
Right.
cult leader stuff.
Yeah, and he goes, "Do you remember the time before?" Or he goes, "You're so old, you probably remember the time before." And Kelso is like, "I don't remember
This was
the
good.
time, but I remember faces and I remember moments." And I think that that's kind of like that's where you realize like how long it's been
Right.
because Kelso had to be like if it's 30 years later, Kelso had to be like Ralph Fiennes at I don't know, maybe he's 60, so he was like 30 years old. But think about how long 30 years is and think about like how different the world would be and like it
Mhm.
would be hard to remember.
And it wouldn't
And
even
it's like
well
when
because
stores
in
that's what
his
he says. He goes,
house
when stores were around.
Yeah,
it-
just like simple stuff.
you
Yeah.
do see he has like a couple Polaroids from the past that it's like him with a woman, him just like somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's just like snapshots of like just a life that doesn't exist. So it is very like interesting, and I do
Right.
like too that Jimmy actually is like, oh, I think you're like the best person I've ever like. He's like, I think I like you more than anyone I've ever
Yeah,
met.
you can actually have a conversation with him. Like there's
He's like-
they're two.
It's like literally the most meaningful
Yeah.
interaction he's
Right.
had
I
his
do-
whole life. You know,
I do like the idea that anyone who goes to Kelso is just immediately impressed by
'Cause he's
Kelso.
just
even
the
the
best
alpha, even,
yeah, he's just so
even the alpha
cool.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know you. Yeah, in fact, it's like, damn.
And so
What's up?
then Jimmy
Any more
comes back
needles?
and he goes, "We're going to Dr. Kelso tomorrow's night, or we're going to see my dad tomorrow night. You can't talk to him. I'm the only one who can talk to him. You can't look him in the eye or something." And then there was another rule, but he essentially they're all going in on the plot.
It was
Yeah.
like you
Don't
stay
touch
there
him, don't
quiet,
talk to
you
him.
listen to what he
Yeah.
has to say, then you leave because he doesn't want any tricks. But he does get Kelso to go along with it because he's like, "I'll literally feed you your own intestines if you try to
Yes.
like
Mhm.
do anything." You know,
Yeah.
And
else."
Kelso's just like, I believe you.
Yeah, he's like, "All
I
right."
think you would do that.
Yeah. and then it's funny because so Jimmy tells them that, and they're all going to sleep, and then we cut back to Kelso, and he's talking to Samson. He's telling Samson, you know, I think like we never had a chance to treat the disease, but maybe there's not just a psychological or like a physical thing, but there's also a psychological thing. And he's like, and it kind of like maybe it's psychosis, and so he starts treating it by psychosis. And he just gets a bunch of drugs. And he's like, I gotta do this right now because I might die tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And he tells him he's like he's not scared to die. He's just scared that he won't be able to help Samson before he dies. So he goes to Samson. He blows like this powder in his face, or does he blow the powder, or does he just give it to Samson?
I think he just injects it because the
Yes, he
No,
blows
he,
stuff
he,
later.
he
Powder.
gives it to him. He blows
Yeah,
powder
yeah,
later.
Yeah.
yeah.
Hilarious scene. But no, he gives Samson a bit like a big treatment of like an antipsychotic, essentially. I don't
Yeah.
know what exactly
Yes.
it is, but you know, it's actually cool. We didn't because it's literally one line. But when he's talking about running out of morphine earlier in the movie, he's like, "And I know for a fact there's not a single drop of morphine in any hospital in like 50 miles." And
Yeah.
it just shows you like the insane life he's like led. You
Yeah.
know, like
Just
the
get-
adventures he's gone on to get to
It's-
this point. You
And it's
know?
also funny because, like, of course, a doctor would go try to get morphine in like the most important medicine,
and still have some left 30 years later.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Right,
I have
Like,
OD
so-
on
rationing them out.
It just
Yeah.
and it's crazy just to think like even from like the 28 days later part, he's just literally out there like getting medical
Yeah.
supplies, trying to help
Mhm.
people, and like
Yeah.
God, I do want the Kelson.
if I
prequel
was
now,
Kelso,
actually.
that movie would have been called 28, 25 days and maybe a half.
Yeah,
Before-
yeah.
Before that morphine was done.
It would have been called "Not Sure How to
It's
Measure
gonna be
It." and
called
died.
one
They're
heroin
called, like, what the
injection
hell? That was
later.
amazing. And so
That's my nope.
yeah, that's what my movie would have been. That's my Rogue One.
Yeah.
And so he gives them to him, and then we kind of and then we cut back, and Spike is trying to get out of there. He's like leaving, but one of the third Jimmy. You know what? Not gonna lie. It is hard to describe all the Jimmies.
It doesn't matter. The other Jimmys are superfluous.
Yeah.
They're
the
idiots.
male Jimmy. He goes and he's like, "That guy that you killed was my best friend. You should have been the one who got killed by the girl because obviously he would have picked you if you were out there, but you were hiding in the barn." Which is kind of smart. And like when he hides outside, you know, you don't think about it. It's just kind of like, yeah, because Spike is so young that of course he can't handle it. But it like the series of events that are caused because like the butterfly effect of Spike going outside for 5 seconds and that girl saying he can stay outside kind of leads to everything else that happens in this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, but if you'd seen Spike stay with the Jimmys for a while longer, you'd get to see him kill everyone the same way with that exact same shot to the leg over and over again as he like continues being in the Jimmys.
Yeah.
And
Maybe you could watch an action movie that's about that. I don't know.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know. You're...
You sound like me. I feel like I'm always the one that complains that a movie didn't have enough blood.
They
I
would
know.
pick,
Now
I just
Josh
want to
is saying
say
Josh
they,
is like writing his own movie.
they would
Not as
pick
good.
Spike every
Yeah.
time, and I want to
Then he
see him
gashed
use
his
that
head
move
and
every
like a-
time. It's like
Yeah,
every
I
time
think
he
you're.
just gets
I
to
think
there.
you're starting to learn how they learned how to fight and how it's not that fun.
Oh.
Hey, he had a best friend. His life was pretty good for a minute.
That's how, yeah, and then what happened? And so then they have to kill that guy. The girl kills him, and she tells Jimmy like, and this is also good because you realize that Jimmy has also like the girl is because before when she's talking to Spike, she kind of tells him that she thinks that she does think that that's the devil, but she also kind of thinks that the main Jimmy might be full of shit and might not be the son of the devil. And so she's been kind
she's
of
like the
giving
smart
lip
one,
a little bit,
essentially.
Well, I think it's she's smart, but she also doesn't buy it as much as the other.
It is odd because I do feel like she does essentially believe like overall in the idea of Satanism, but she's just like, no, but Jimmy in particular is kind of a charlatan, and I do think that's interesting.
She calls him full of shit. Yeah.
No, it's an interesting
But
idea.
it is interesting because it's like it's that way that like I don't know. Well, we'll talk about it more when we get to the end. And so then they go out that night and like and Kelso like I don't know. We won't spoil what Kelso does. He just puts on a show.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's the coolest
it's
show.
great.
Incredible.
It's worth
Yeah.
the entire ticket
Mhm.
you pay for. But the whole point is that he's playing along with it. He's kind of like talking to him through a speaker, and they're all freaking out. And then he does. That's where he sprays them with a powder that gets them instantly high. And there's also a very cool part where he's like at the top of the Bone Temple, and Jimmy's like, apparently a very British way of dancing is to just like pump your knees real high, and like they're all kind of dancing like that, and it just makes me laugh every single time.
I do think because there's a lot of pyrotechnics. There's a lot of theatricality. I do think no matter what happened to the Jimmys that night or like earlier, that probably is the best thing they've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like what he did, you're like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I think it would be so scary if you were high and
I
like
know.
this monster.
Oh my
It
god,
was
it would
actually
be
the
so
devil.
cool, scary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So then, so Kelso's like all into it, and he's like, he clearly has a rehearsed speech where he has to tell him, he's like, Jimmy wants them to always listen to him and never talk back, and then B, their next plan is that they're going to turn the fingers from 7 to 2 fists to like 5 fists or whatever. So he's essentially going to try to make the Jimmy cult
grow
the
the
entire
cult.
country. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so they're all like, oh, and Kelso's like, yeah, that's cool. I want you to
and
do that.
Spike is wearing a mask this whole time.
Yeah.
Which is actually why he also doesn't get high, because he doesn't get it all in his mouth and nose. So he's
Yeah.
like the
Right,
one who's
right.
not high right now.
Yeah. And Kelso's kind of like looking around, and he notices Spike even through the mask.
Right.
And he walks up to him and he takes off the mask. And once he realizes it's Spike, he says, oh, actually, there's one more thing. And he says, like, oh, you're my son. It's also funny because it's like Kelso seems like the only one who knows anything in this universe. So he
Yeah.
tells him, like, oh, well, the son of God was crucified. So I need the son of the devil to also be crucified. And Jimmy, like, doesn't want to. Jimmy immediately freaks out.
I love Jimmy trying to spin this too, where he's like, come on, this guy's an old man. He's a liar. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Right.
Imagine again.
Because even the dumb Jimmies are like, wait, so what? Why did we just, like,
Yeah.
it's
Do this whole
very,
thing.
it's very obvious that he's panicking.
And so to prove that to the other Jimmy, so he doesn't get murdered, that Kelso's not the devil. He stabs Kelso, and then they all kind of fight, and the other two Jimmys are quickly dispatched by the good Jimmy, the girl Jimmy, and then Kelso's stabbed, and then Jimmy Crystal's also stabbed, and he's stabbed by Spike. And Spike has finally learned.
Finally,
violence is
Spike
cool.
takes initiative for the first time in the movie.
Yeah.
I think, and you know what? It's such a good point because it's the only kind of time in the movie, other than at the very beginning, but it's the only time that we've seen in quite a long time that someone needs to be stopped. Like Jimmy is trying to kill all of them, and like so
Yeah.
Spike has learned that like you don't have to be like the Jimmys. You don't have to kill every single person you see, but you do have to stop someone if they're trying to hurt other people.
Right. Totally.
And so I think it's like, again, like from 28 days later, 20 years later to this one, Spike's story is so complete and so well done of this kind of like kid going literally from a kid to a man as he kind of grows over the course of two movies. It's a very poignant like character arc. It's one of the best kind of coming of age character arcs in a movie. So it's really well done. And then
I really hope they get to make a third one so we see more of it.
Well,
I honestly want to see a third one. Yeah.
And so then they leave Jimmy. We also won't tell you what happens to Jimmy, but there is a really cool.
Don't we
scene
kind of have to tell you what happens to Jimmy because of what happens with
Well,
Samson?
I don't think so. I think we can talk about what happens to Samson.
Okay.
So what? Oh yeah, we might have to talk about. But anyway, so while this is happening, Samson is like gaining his memories, and this is like my favorite part of the whole movie. Like he remembers where he was when the virus hit, and he was like a little kid, and he was on
Maybe.
a train, and he was also like reading a book of the moon, which is also like okay, he would have known what the moon was. He didn't have to read a book.
No, but like I don't even because the
Ooh.
weird thing is he's getting flashes and he's an Indian, and I think
Yeah.
that is kind of important because the British are pretty racist, and I
Yeah.
almost get the idea that him on the train being looked at by all like the white British people was like pretty common in his life because first he's a child and then he's like an adult, but not a zombie and stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like you don't know exactly what happened and when, but you just kind of get the sense that he was like kind of alienated his whole life even before like the apocalypse. You know,
Yeah.
I do think that's like such a good snippet of like his personality finally breaking through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's really cool
Totally.
too because like he's like they're on the train, and a woman, the stewardess, I guess, comes up and she asks for a ticket. But if you look behind her, there's a guy twitching all over the place and starting to get infected with the zombie virus.
Yes.
But it just doesn't really look like anything. Like if you know what they look like, because we've been watching it for 3 movies now, you'll know. But like,
Right.
it's so in the background, and then like everything kind of freezes, and we cut back, and like all those people who are staring at him are now the infected, and they're kind of like creeping up on him. And Samson just kind of looks at him and he goes, "I don't have a ticket."
Right.
And then they all
then
start
they
attacking him.
Yes.
And he has to fight him.
and
it's
they
like,
they literally, because it's like their sense of who's infected and who's not has like been like, oh, this guy is a human,
yeah,
because they vomit into his mouth the blood, which is how they do it in every other movie. It just
Yeah.
doesn't work, and he instantly does his sick decapitation move. So it's like he is a human, but he's still an alpha, you know. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
such
Right.
a cool idea,
because they
you know.
they bite him and they spit in his face, and he never turns back into the alpha. He
Mhm.
just always has, but he's still tall. And then there's like the coolest scene in the
He's
movie
definitely still tall.
where he like, because he like walks out of the train, he's just covered in blood.
And it's also
Mhm.
like it's the train where his mate gave birth to his
Yeah.
son. So it's
Yeah.
like
And see,
That's interesting. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of, well, I guess it's been 28 years, but that's maybe like a kind of throwaway to where he was, because it is kind of, it's ambiguous as to whether he was a kid with his parents on the train or whether he was adult with his like companion
or the
or
fact
wife
like the
or
fact that he
whatever.
didn't have
Yeah.
a ticket, it's like he was probably poor, probably like
Right.
just kind of existing on the margins of society even before this. I don't know.
Yeah.
It really is like one of those things where
Well,
it's
I
like,
think he had the ticket in the past. I think he was saying he didn't have the ticket in the future because it was like him waking up.
I don't know if it matters. It's the same.
Well, it's like a completely different like motivation.
No, because he's probably saying what he was saying to the not stewardess, by the way.
'Cause in the
definitely
past,
not stewardesses.
Yeah.
But he was probably saying that to her back then, just before the zombie outbreak. You know?
See, I don't think he was gonna say that to her because he was with like another person. They obviously had tickets.
I don't know.
It's true.
I've
That's
seen
true.
I've seen a lot of Peep Show, and on that show, a lot of people do not buy tickets to the train.
And that might be a British thing that we just don't know about.
They just try to scam
driving
it.
without
Yeah.
a ticket is less common.
I rarely
always
get a
assumed-
ticket for the Max when I go into the city, so think about that.
That is true. And so then Samson eventually comes and he takes Dr. Kelso and he's like, "I forgive you."
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr.
For
Kelso.
what's
addicting
crazy
me
though
to hard
is
drugs.
because let's just say, oh, we didn't even say this. Jimmy stabs Dr. Kelson, so Dr. Kelson is
No, we said
dying. Jimmy's also dying, and as Samson approaches, we see him at Satan with the horns.
Oh
and it
yeah,
looks so
Oh, yeah.
sick
yeah.
you know?
That's like the best. That's the
Yeah.
coolest.
because it's
visual.
literally Jimmy like thinking old Nick has finally
That's
come
my
for
dad.
him. It's so
And then
good.
he's like, "I can't hear your dad. I can't
Yeah.
hear his voice." And then we cut to probably what everyone who didn't watch this movie was waiting for, and I think it's important to talk about. So we cut right after that. We cut to the countryside, and it's a woman, and it's a kind of little girl. I think she's like 12 or 13, and she's kind of
Yeah.
learning about World War One. And then we see Cillian Murphy.
And
the first
Jim,
one.
the original Jimmy, is
Jim.
back.
And I think it's very important to talk about this because what they're talking about is after World War One, every country punished Germany, and that led directly to World War Two. And so after World War Two, everyone was kind of trying to help Germany rebuild. And the daughter's like, "I don't understand why they needed to do this." And he's like, "Because we realized that if you hurt your enemy, you're hurting yourself." And so then they hear something, they go outside and they're looking and they see Spike and the girl and they're kind of running from zombies. And the daughter goes, "Should we help them?" And he goes, "Of course we should." And then they take off
Yeah.
running. We hear the music. But I think it's important because that's kind of what this whole movie's about. It's the way that like everyone in this movie who's failed has tried to just kill the zombies and kind of try to take
Right.
over. Even 28 weeks later, it's kind of more about that than the other ones. And Dr. Kelso's the only one who's like, you can't hurt your enemy without hurting yourself. Like he's the only one who's
Mhm.
always been decided like, no, you can't just kind of like keep fighting each other and keep killing each other. And I think that's where like the main message almost comes, you know?
Yeah, there has to
Yeah.
be some sort of
You have to
like-
assimilate.
Now, let me ask you that: did you recognize the fact that that's the same Hamlet from 28 Days Later at the very beginning?
Well, that's
clocked
what
it
I
right away.
assumed that it was the same one. But I
The same what?
The same
little
because at
cabin.
the end of 28 Days Later, they're in the Hamlet, Jim and the
Oh,
two others,
oh,
and it's the same
for sure.
one.
oh, someone
the
watched
idea.
Hamnet.
Yeah.
It's not.
Someone watched that. It's like
yeah.
in the film Hamnet.
In the Hamnet.
There was a
Yeah.
Hamnet.
Mhm.
First of
We
all,
had-
I
What
did
happened
see
to
Ham
T?
Hamnet, and it is good. I don't
Man,
see why
I've
we
heard it's
want
good.
talk
I've
about
heard
it on
it's
this
good.
podcast.
Yeah,
It wasn't a bomb.
I mean, I don't know.
It wasn't on any of our lists because we didn't see it. in
Jesse
time.
Buckley goaded always, but
I love Jesse.
I
Buckley.
also
He's
find
great.
it funny because if you remember, Jim is literally like a bicycle messenger in the first
Yeah.
movie, so it's like,
Yeah.
oh, when did he learn this history? I
He's
guess
just
in the
open-
last
Hey,
28 years.
There's intelligent. bike
there
messengers
was
out
an
there.
encyclopedia set in that Hamlet, so
I would assume Jim was smart. But
Yeah.
also, okay,
I
so
assumed he was
He was
dumb
a
as
bohemian
shit from
genius.
28 Days. he
Talking
was
about,
not smart. He was a dummy. He
I'm
learned.
trying- going
about
through a zombie
the
apocalypse.
themes, it's kind of interesting that like because the first movie, like we said, it's kind of about perception, the people's perception of Kelso, the son's perception of the dad and the mom, the people's perception of the dad. And I think like this movie is kind of a continuation of that, but it expands in a much more political way. This one is not going to be able to be advertised because it's like it deals a lot more with propaganda and what happens when you're following a charismatic leader
Mhm.
who's like taking you to doom, but like you're too kind of in it to even realize where you're going, you know? And I
Yeah.
think that's why it
And there's
becomes
no other option for you too.
exactly, and I think that's why it becomes important that he's dressed as Jimmy Savin because it's like it's this guy that everyone like was
Thought was
following
cool.
and
Thought was
loved,
good.
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
nobody thought like, let's look into what this guy's really doing. Like, and even the
Yeah.
people who did were kind of protected, just kind of the way the fingers protect Jimmy from the harsh truth of their world too. You know,
Yeah.
they're the only ones who are ever doing the killing. Jimmy never. Oh, he does kill Dr. Kelso, but he doesn't really do anything else. You know, he's non-violent.
Right.
And so I think it's like, I don't know. I've never seen a movie where they take kind of the themes from the first one and like blow them up for the second one. You know, it's always like either continuation or they try something else to do a different theme.
Yeah.
But this one it's so interesting the way he kind of did this. You know,
That's why
Yeah.
I almost like
No, for sure.
I kind of respect. It's almost like there's the first movie, and the first movie is almost like straightforward, not even to a fault. I actually do like the first one slightly more, maybe because
You
the
mean
score.
28 days later or
28
years
years.
later?
Sorry,
Okay.
I like 20 years later a little more. I think it's just because the score's better. But I do like that this is almost the antithesis, where it's like a reaction to the first movie, and it's like
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah,
that Alex
totally.
Garland almost are like, here's the argument, here's the response.
counter-argument.
You know, and it's
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
like, and it's like
Here's how
I
someone
am-
else deals with this
I am
crisis.
dying
Yeah.
for them to actually make the third one.
I know. I would have loved to see the third
I-
one
See,
so
I,
much.
I
you know,
don't-
I'm gonna disagree. I don't think this movie needs a. I think it's so succinct in how it ends. You know,
I
it's
just
like
I want to see what they do
Well,
with it, because
the
it's
way they
almost
kind
like
of-
I think maybe thematically it ends, but like plot wise, I don't
Yeah.
know if it
They-
like that's
No,
what
no,
drives me
obviously.
crazy. Like,
yeah,
I think that like because we don't know what happens to. I know this is going to be really basic, but it's
Yeah.
like we don't know what happens to the pregnant lady. We don't know what's going to happen to Cillian. I'm sorry, my cat just keeps on getting
That's
in the
okay.
way. But yeah, it's like I feel like the first movie is such a complete transformation of Spike. Like he has
Yeah.
like this major thing that happens, and this one kind of feels like, and then like the first one
Right.
kind of feels like it could kind of be for me. It kind of feels like it ends, and this one's kind of like, but what if? And it's
Yeah.
like, but it feels too open to me to
Right.
feel emotionally satisfied. But you're
Yeah.
saying that you thought that it was very complete. So I'm
Just-
curious
just
as to what you
done.
thought.
yeah. I think it's because, like we were saying, it's kind of, you know, it's like we were like the first one kind of brings up the way that we lie to ourselves, or like this kind of thing. And the second one is kind of like the solution to that, like
right.
we have to help each other and all this kind of
It's like
this
it's
love
like
thing that's
the
introduced.
first one is Spike seeing
Right.
the lie and then
Right.
rejecting it, and the second is like, okay, what do you do now that you've
Right.
rejected it?
Right. And
but-
so I think that with the reason I don't think it needs a second one is because
Third one.
it's our third one is because between 28 days and 28 years and this one, it's like Jim and Spike kind of have the same, and you kind of see where Spike can lead to, especially the fact that Jim is now going to be kind of taking care of him. And I think it's that thing where the minute that Jim says, "Of course we need to help him," it's kind of saying like,
is how
despite
it
the
gets
over.
fact that the rage monsters are killing everyone, despite the fact that they're not gone, they've kind of now they're forming this society where they are helping each other again.
Yeah.
And that's really all you like. That's kind of what that's why I think Alec Garland put that lesson in there
Right.
right at the last second to be like, yeah, this is what we have to do. So even if there isn't a third one, we know kind of where. Well, I mean, and you never know. 'Cause
I-
like William
I
said, there's a lot of
agree.
threads.
Yeah,
no,
but,
no,
but,
no,
but it's
that
the
makes
exact
sense.
opposite of how the other villages deal with it. Like
Right.
they say, if you're out there, we're not going to find you.
Jim is
Silly
like, of
Murphy
course
might be
we
saying
help
like,
them.
"We will
Yeah.
come find you."
But
if you're
now,
lost.
to me though, it's
And
like
see how like it matches so well.
Totally.
but there's- it's
No,
like,
that is good. That is good.
it's like Hegelian dialectics where a thesis. so-
What'd you say?
Yeah, you.
okay, so
I mean, go for it.
The idea is
Yeah.
like a thesis and an antithesis can't meet without some sort of synthesis happening with both being changed. So to me, Cillian Murphy at the end kind of saying like, hey, here's the idea from history we're taking. Here's these two like opposing viewpoints clashing is like, okay, what's the synthesis of that? How do you make that? And how do you
But
like
they're-
bring
but
Spike
they're not
and a
clashing.
Satanist? I almost think it's like Spike and Satanist Jimmy. I don't know the girls. She's
Yeah, the
just a
girl
Jimmy.
one.
Whatever.
Red
She actually
Jimmy.
does have a name and she does say it, but I don't remember what it is. Her
Kelly.
real name.
Kelly's her name.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay. Spike and Kelly are almost like two. It's like them and Jim from 20 Days Later together. You know, it's like, okay, what's the synthesis of these three? And I do want to see that. And Alex Garland
Sure.
and Danny Boyle clearly want to see that because they're like, we're making a trilogy. And I don't know if they'll get to, but I want them to, you know?
Right.
Like,
If they could
I-
even
Right.
just like make a novelization.
like
that
like
would
how
be
do
enough.
you do this? I also feel like
I think they should
Sony's-
do the James Cameron where they just hold the press conference.
They're just like, here's what would have happened.
Yeah.
I honestly too, I kind of blame Sony because it's like, why did you release this 6 months later? The first one got a summer release, huge hit. Why'd you just dump this in January? It's an amazing film, you know.
Right. And I didn't
Yeah.
know there was going to be a trilogy until after the movie was over, and my future brother-in-law, my friend, was like, "Yeah, so there's gonna be another one coming out and another one," and it's like that wasn't even advertised. So I don't know. The marketing might have been kind of weird too. It's like I wasn't even ready for that. No one was ready for that.
Yeah, I just
Maybe I was just,
vaguely
like,
remember
hard,
them
I don't
talking
know.
about a trilogy, and I was like, did they film them all? Did they didn't? And it's like they filmed 2, but not the last one. I don't know. I want it to happen. I believe in Danny Boyle again, despite yesterday.
Yeah. No, and like I said, it's kind of like the James Cameron thing. I don't think Avatar needs to see 4 and 5, but if they want to make 4 and
Yeah.
5, I will
Yeah,
watch
I'm
them.
in the seats.
I agree with that about
Um,
Avatar for sure.
Yeah, and so it's the same thing here. Like again, I don't think we really need to continue, and I think it's more so because I think this ending is so well done, but I wouldn't mind it.
I guess I'm also like, it's such a messy trilogy, not even a trilogy. There's 4 films. From days to weeks to years to Bone Temple. It's like, I almost want to see like, what does Danny Boyle think wrapping this up looks like? Just, it's like pure
Yeah.
curiosity, you know?
Yeah, yeah, but cool. Well, that was that movie.
Bone Temple.
That was the
That was
Bone
the-
Squad
that was-
bringing you
that
the
was-
Obviously,
Bone
it's a very
Temple.
thematically heavy couple of films.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's why, because to me, it's it's a cool zombie movie because it's like it's really thematic, it's really heady. It's like you see all the good reviews and you're like, "There's no way," and then you watch the movie and you're like, "Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I see you." And so we
Can't-
definitely
Jimmy
think you
can't.
should check it out. Go watch it if it's not in theaters, which it probably won't be by next week.
I think it's already out of theaters, yeah, sadly.
Go rent it when it comes
Mhm.
out. It'll be on Netflix. But check it out. Let us know what you think. And next week, one more film of 2025, and then we'll get to disgusting horror films. We're gonna see one of the biggest
Okay.
bombs of 2025, and we're going to maybe be converts. We'll see next time on the Bomb Squad.